Okay. All right. Let me switch over to what was going to be my story, which might be our story. So, hot scoop here. Um, so this week I was looking at the Proud Boys website because I keep seeing articles calling them white supremacists, and it's fucking hilarious. So I went to go to their website so I could bring up the tenets and then talk about what they actually stand for. And here's the link. As you can see, these links are all purple because I was doing the research this week, which means I went to their website. And when you click on here, it goes to St. Jude's Research Hospital now. Site, proudboysusa.com, is not reachable by me. So I don't know if you guys can corroborate that out there, but there goes my story. So I'll just have to paraphrase because I think, to me, maybe it's a conspiracy theory, but I think they got taken down. But they, their tenets were, it was like really simple stuff. It was like family centric, limited government, anti-racism. So a whole bunch of things in there. But like, it's like, it's not what you think. It's a very basic pro-country, small government. It's pretty much a libertarian movement with a strong male thread, essentially, right? It's a male club. Yeah, maybe, that's all it is. It has absolutely nothing to do with white supremacy.
No, sure, but it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to observe the actions of them tearing down Black Lives Matter flags. Seeing there's other interviews where like one of the people in the Proud Boys like, oh yeah, that's all just like a bunch of bullshit. We just say that. Like maybe these are pigeonholed arguments. Maybe I'm just looking at like what my newsreels want me to hear. But it's like the way the Proud Boys have been painted in my mind, it really has been like a white supremacist organization, and I guess it'll take some serious convincing to change that for me, to be quite honest. And I would say that's pretty accurate on the left. I don't think that's even something that's up for much negotiation on our side of the aisle. We kind of look at it, it's like, oh, the KKK took off their hats. Like, not even trying to be like really assertive. I realize like, the Proud Boys maybe originally came out of this, YouTube centric comedy of like, let's play on the ideals of dark humor and ideals of First Amendment and ideals of trigger. But, the reality is it's attracted a crowd that has perpetuated something a little bit more insidious.
So there was a couple of things you said there. So opposing Black Lives Matter does not make you a white supremacist, right? I myself am opposed largely to so as much as Black Lives Matter is Marxist, and by Marxist I mean theories of equity as opposed to equality, I'm opposed to them as well. And that doesn't make me a white supremacist. I just think their philosophy, their underlying philosophy is wrong, along with a lot of their information. And Proud Boys would 100% agree with what I just said. They would just be rude about it. I just said right there is how the Proud Boys feel about Black Lives Matter. So if they're tearing down signs, it's because they're being rude about it, but they believe what I believe.
Yeah, but I don't think you can't use that statement to say, and thus they aren't a terrorist group, and thus they aren't a white supremacist group, right? Because just because you have some similar beliefs. I'm not saying they are that either, right? I'm not saying they are that either, but just by saying because they believe what I believe doesn't mean they can't also believe other things or act in certain ways, right? Like,
yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to pretend to you, Chris, that there's no racists in it, but it's literally one of their tenets to be not racist. That is one of they chose to write that among 8 or 9 tenets. So we did a video on conspiracy theories last night. You in the audience, you should go watch it as soon as Tim clips it together and puts it up. But one of the tenets of a conspiracy theory is that you undermine the authority. You undermine the authority figures that will contradict you. And so, like, it doesn't make you wrong, Chris, but you coming out and saying, "Oh, there's a bunch of Proud Boys who have come out and said that no, we were trolling. Those things don't mean anything." Right, so you have an organization that literally has a Cuban American leading it, that on their website says we're not racist, and then you're ignoring all of that in favor of a couple guys who are trolling. You know what I'm saying?
But it's also believing that that's sincere and that is what the majority would stand for, or that the organization as a whole actually stands for, and I don't know that you can necessarily say that either. Yeah, look. Was it the Proud Boys we were talking about before? I'm pretty sure it was. At some point in the previous podcast, we were talking about it was either the Proud Boys or another right-wing organization, and you were talking about how the leader had started on I think it was YouTube, and it was a comedian, and everything was just a joke, and he didn't mean it seriously and all that. Yeah. So I go and look him up, and you were 100% wrong. Like, that guy is racist as balls, man. Like, yeah, I went and spent a couple hours looking stuff up. I did.
I would literally give you all of my money if he's racist. That is how confident I am.
I shouldn't say that dude. The guy that's running whatever organization we were talking about. It might have been, I think it was that, no, I think what it is that Gavin quit because the organization was racist. That's what it was. That's what I was reading about. Gavin actually isn't part of that organization anymore because he said that it doesn't stand for what he believed in, and he left it because they're a bunch of racists.
Okay.
That's what the story was. Yeah.
Like, the both of you, like, how is your cognitive dissonance allowing you to think that this might be a white supremacist organization that's being led by a brown Cuban American?
Have you not seen?
Do you not feel like there's some confirmation bias towards your own in this regard?
Well, look, of course there is, right? Because I'm a fan of the guy that started it, so I have a massive confirmation bias. But like you got, again, you're not addressing what I just said. There is a brown Cuban American who was elected to lead this organization, and you're telling me that it's a white supremacist organization.
I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm just saying that.
So I want to say something. I don't think that. Now, granted, this is not a contradiction, and so I just want, please hear me out on this, because it's something that the left, I think, also can really improve upon. So I do personally believe identities, race, ethnicity, I realize the right often will call us identity politics, do matter, right? I do believe that it's important when you have a qualified pool of candidates, all else equal, that, we should hire some people of color. We should hire individuals who are, quote unquote, minorities. I don't believe that just because someone is African American or Black or Spanish or Hispanic does not mean they can commit prejudice against their own communities. So and I think that's something that's really important that needs to be taken into consideration. We see it all the time where people that are...
are you accusing him of internalized racism?
What?
Are you accusing him of internalized racism?
Yeah, I am. I believe
so you've accounted for him.
What?
So you've accounted for him. What about all of these other white supremacists in the organization that elected him to the leadership position?
Sure, maybe they...
Do they have, what would you consider that? Secondary internalized racism?
No,
where they're like, he has internalized racism, so he can lead us white supremacists.
No, it's more like, well, you're not like the rest of the Black people. That's the mentality. It's like, oh yeah, you're like my one Black friend. Like that is racism as well.
Any evidence for that?
I'm speculating because I haven't looked.
Yeah, there's evidence. All right. So this was actually one of the stories that I wanted to bring up. This guy named Clayton Bigsby. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, this guy named Clayton Bigsby. Okay, he's a Black dude who's a white supremacist.
Well, you can't play that. We'll get banned. Don't do it.
Look, there he is, right there. He doesn't even know he's Black. If you haven't seen this, you need to go watch it. This is telling. This is exactly what Chris is talking about.
Yeah, you need to watch it. It's a very good documentary.
I've seen people who are. I've seen people who are people of color who have straight out perpetuated things like, oh yeah, slavery wasn't that bad. People have been given homes. People were given like a place to stay. Jim Crow wasn't that bad. It boosted Black businesses, right? It's like, yeah, but that's not the point. That's not the point that like just because it concentrated Black people into segregated lines, of course that like Black people are going to shop at only Black businesses. They had no other choice. That's not the point. So I do believe that you can have prejudice against your own race, ethnicity, identity. A lot of times too, what will happen is individuals will climb up a social ladder that were in a place of relative like social economic struggle, and now that they're in a place of privilege, they benefit from where they come from, but they actually will oppress or make decisions that still impact that community in a negative way. there's plenty of people in power that I can like think of that would qualify under this. That I'm not going to say out loud, but there's definitely.
I'm not going to disagree with you on all that. There's interesting conversations around all the stuff you just said. Like, I just have to bring it back to you were telling me that a white supremacist organization elected a brown Cuban to lead them.
Sure, white women voted the majority of President Trump, even though he's like a sexual predator. It happens. This is not surprising.
Okay, but that doesn't equate, right? You're telling me that strongly bigoted, it's not just a bunch of bigoted people in one place. You're telling me an organization specifically designed to be bigoted elected a brown guy.
Yes, it's very possible.
Okay,
I think it's almost
well, we're gonna have to. Go ahead.
I think first and foremost, it's people will vote against their own interests or beliefs. In this case, white supremacists voting against their beliefs, which I guess is strangely okay. But
is it not much easier just to say that they're probably not white supremacists then?
Or it's literally meant to cause this conversation, like, whoa, we can't be white supremacists if we've elected a person of color. It's like, yeah, you still can be.
So he's a useful idiot. And all the other black people and brown people and people of every race that are in the Proud Boys, they're all just useful idiots, right?
I think that's like, a little bit hijacking my point, because I'm not calling anybody a useful idiot. I'm just saying it's like, strategic maneuvering to have somebody in leadership that, it's easy to point to and be like, oh yeah, no, look, we have a person of color, we're not racist. But then here you have like things like, Kyle Rittenhouse flagging the white supremacy symbol while he's drinking a bunch of people in Proud Boys.
If you recruit thousands of minorities into your organization and elect one of them to lead your organization, how is your brain not exploding right now? Exploding.
Sorry, man. I wish I could confirm an explosion, but there's not. I mean, maybe there's factions of the Proud Boys that aren't, but the reality is that there's also massive factions of that are perpetuating white supremacist beliefs.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Cool.
I might need more to on this. Right. I might need. It's going to be hard to sway me on this, but I'm going to need a lot of information.
We can do like a segment on far right factions at some point. It might be fun. We could talk about it. Free speech point here. If it turns out that their website actually is taken down, I was trying to give you guys actual information about this organization, and I can't access their website. Right? That's what happens. And now it's going to go underground somewhere, and they're going to be correct when they start saying they're oppressed.
Yeah, no, you're